for 5 minutes.
A couple nights ago, I met with a woman who works as a cashier at a grocery store, and I told her I was coming to see you, Mr. Lyons, and she said, will you ask him, and she didn't want to give her name. She was terrified to give her name. But she said, when I get off my shift around midnight and I walk through the parking lot to my car, she said, if somebody rolls up in an unidentified van and gets out wearing all black and their face is covered and they don't have any identification and they ask me to get into the van, how do I know who they are? How does she know, Mr. Lyons? How does she know if they're an ICE agent or bad guys?
Sir, ICE agents have identifiable placards on their uniforms as well as their badges representative, but you won't see ICE agents rolling through the parking lots and just snatching someone up. ICE does intelligence-driven, targeted enforcement operations.
Well, Mr. Homan and others have said that they target individuals based on the color of their skin and the accents that they speak, and that's why people are running through the fields and factories where they work. Director Lyons, last year you said in Phoenix at the Border Security Expo that you wanted to see a deportation process that was like, quote, Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Mr. Lyons, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a mom 3 times in the face?
None, sir, but you're also...
It's the square root of 0, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but if we're going to go down that route of my comment, I did say that comment. However, that comment was taken out. If you go back and watch the video, I did say that we need to be more efficient when it comes to removing individuals from the United States because ICE doesn't detain punitively. We detain to remove. I don't want to see people in custody. At the end of my statement was, and again, to your point, it was a industry day for AI and efficiencies, but I did say at the end of it, but we deal with human beings, so we can't be like them.
And speaking
That's
of human,
the key part that you're leaving out.
Well, speaking of human beings, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a nurse 10 times in the back?
None.
How many times has Amazon Prime dragged a woman out of her car by her hair and then dragged her down the street?
None.
How many ICE agents have been fired for their conduct under your leadership?
Sir, I can get you that data. I'll get that back to you.
Is it more than one?
I'm not going to speak about personnel actions, but I'll get you that data.
Can you tell us if at least, God, I hope at least one person has been fired for their conduct since these operations have begun? Are you telling us you can't even say one person's been fired?
Sir, I'm not going to talk about personnel actions, but we will get back to you.
But 2 people have been killed so far, is that right? A nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. 2 people have been killed so far.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lyons, will you apologize to the family of Renee Good for being called a domestic terrorist by the president and his leadership?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sir, I welcome the opportunity to speak to the family in private, but I'm not going to comment on any active investigation.
Is she a domestic terrorist?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on the investigation. And the president and Secretary Noem are elected officials. That's their right to their comments. But as career law enforcement, we won't speak to any.
Do you agree with their comments?
Sir, I'm not going to go ahead and talk about any ongoing investigation.
Will you apologize to the family of Alex Preddy for also being called a domestic terrorist?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speak to any ongoing investigation.
Mr. Lyons, your staying to lead ICE is a decision.
Sir, I'm sorry. Could you repeat
Your
that?
staying on to lead ICE is a decision. And I've read your background. You have a decorated career. You've served in the military. You are what I would call otherwise employable. I think most people would agree this is not the only job that you can get. But since you've been on this job, women have been dragged by their hair through our streets. A 6-year-old child battling stage 4 cancer has been deported, and it turns out he was a U.S. citizen. People are running through the fields where they work. People who've gone to the streets as allies have been shot and publicly executed. It's a decision to stay on at this point. And considering your honorable service in the past and the dishonorable acts that those who have worked for you have conducted, and the disgraceful statements that the leadership above you have said, you now have a decision. Will you stand with the kids who you're supposed to protect, or will you side with the killers bringing terror to our streets? Mr. Lyons, will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from
Gentleman's
law enforcement.
time has expired.
You never should have gone into
Gentleman's time has
custody.
expired. I recognize the gentleman from Mississippi. Mr. Guest, sir.
Numerous stories have emerged highlighting the complexities and controversies surrounding immigration enforcement agencies. One story that has garnered significant attention involves a woman who chose to remain anonymous out of fear. She expressed her deep concern about the safety risks faced by individuals in her position, especially during late-night hours. She recounted, "When I finish my shift around midnight and walk across the parking lot to my car, I worry about strangers in unmarked vans. If someone in a black hoodie, with their face covered, steps out and asks me to get into their vehicle, how am I supposed to know who they are?" Her words reflect a broader fear shared by many who work in environments where they might encounter law enforcement or other authorities. This anxiety raises important questions about how law enforcement agencies identify themselves. Typically, official agents such as ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, are supposed to carry identifiable badges and uniforms with clear placards. Yet, in some situations, individuals report encountering personnel who do not visibly identify themselves, leading to concerns about impersonation, misuse of authority, and potential abuse. Critics argue that some enforcement tactics are driven by racial profiling or targeting individuals based on their appearance, accent, or country of origin. These claims have fueled debates about whether immigration enforcement is being carried out fairly and legally, or whether it is fueled by bias and discrimination. At a recent conference, ICE leadership discussed their operational strategies. They emphasized that their agents conduct targeted, intelligence-driven operations, rather than random or sweeping arrests. However, critics question whether these strategies are transparent and whether they sufficiently safeguard the rights and safety of the communities they serve. Some officials have openly spoken about increasing efficiency in deportation processes. For example, there was a controversial statement comparing deportation procedures to Amazon Prime, implying a desire for rapid, automated processes. Critics immediately challenged such comparisons, pointing out the stark differences between human lives and commercial logistics. One critic asked, "How many times has Amazon Prime shot someone in the back or dragged a person from their vehicle?" The answer, of course, is 0. These pointed questions highlight the importance of human rights and the need for accountability at every level of enforcement. There have also been reports of misconduct among enforcement officers. Incidents where individuals were allegedly mistreated or even harmed have raised serious concerns. When asked about personnel discipline, officials have refused to specify whether any officers have been fired for misconduct, promising only to gather and provide data later. This reluctance to disclose disciplinary actions has fueled skepticism. Citizens want assurances that violations do not go unpunished. The public demands accountability for any use of excessive force, abuse, or wrongful conduct by law enforcement officers. In some tragic cases, lives have been lost during enforcement operations. Reports detail the deaths of individuals such as a nurse named Prey and a mother named Good. These incidents have intensified calls for reform and oversight. Questions about accountability extend to political figures as well. When leaders publicly refer to individuals as domestic terrorists, families affected by enforcement ask whether such labels are justified or whether they serve political agendas. Officials often decline to comment on ongoing investigations, citing legal restrictions. This ongoing controversy raises fundamental questions about the role of enforcement agencies. Should their primary aim be to protect communities and uphold human rights? Or do current practices undermine trust and create an atmosphere of fear? Many advocates believe that enforcement agencies need to be reformed to prioritize transparency, fairness, and humane treatment. They argue that the focus should shift toward comprehensive immigration reform that addresses root causes and provides pathways to legal status, rather than relying solely on enforcement and deportation. Leadership within these agencies faces a critical decision: continue with policies that have led to controversy and tragedy, or commit to change. The question remains, will they acknowledge past mistakes and work toward a system that respects the dignity of all individuals? The call for accountability isn't just about individual officers. It's about systemic change. Communities want to see policies that protect human rights, ensure fair treatment, and foster trust between law enforcement and the public.